Hello, and welcome to Soothing Pod's Sleep Stories. I'm Ethan, and tonight we will drift beneath the stars on a journey through time, myth, and the celestial skies as we explore the story of Gemini, the sign of the twins. Together, we'll uncover the legendary origins of Castor and Pollux, the divine bond that defied mortality, the layered duality within the Gemini soul, and the constellation's place in both the cosmos and our hearts. Before we begin our journey tonight, let's take time to relax and let go of the stresses of the day. Allow your body to sink into the mattress beneath you. Here and now, there are no obligations, no to-do lists. By simply lying in bed with your eyes closed, you are already giving your body nourishing rest. Take a moment to find stillness. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and begin to settle into the rhythm of your breath. Inhale slowly, gently, and exhale, letting go of any tension or thoughts that no longer need your attention tonight. Feel your body becoming lighter, as if made of cloud and moonlight. With every breath, imagine yourself floating higher, above your room, above your thoughts, into a soft space where the night sky stretches out around you like velvet. The stars are awake, their ancient light twinkling softly just for you. Above you, a pair of twin stars glimmer, side by side, casting a silver blue glow. They hum with a story older than time, a tale of love, sacrifice, and connection that defies even the boundaries of life and death. You are safe here. Let your thoughts drift like stardust on a gentle wind. There's no need to fix or control, only to witness and float. If a thought arrives, simply smile and let it pass like a cloud across the moon. Tonight, you'll walk a sky path woven from myth and meaning. You'll meet the twins of Gemini, Castor and Pollux, two souls bound by fate and love. You'll follow them through dream doors and mirrored realms, learning not only who they were, but what they still whisper into the world today. Their story is your story too, in pieces and fragments, in light and shadow. So let go. Let your breath deepen, your shoulders soften. With each inhale, drift closer to the stars. With each exhale, release the weight of the waking world. The stars await. The twins are ready to begin. Long before maps divided kingdoms and the stars were named, there lived a queen of Sparta who gave birth to a child destined not for a throne, but for the stars. His name was Castor. From the moment he entered the world, there was a hush, an ancient kind of silence, like the moment just before dawn, when the whole sky seems to hold its breath. Castor did not cry out loudly as most infants do. Instead, he blinked up at the world with eyes the color of sea glass, cool, clear, and old. As if, even then, he knew something others didn't. As if he was already listening to the music of a fate still forming. He was born mortal, entirely of the earth. His blood held no divine fire, his limbs no godlike strength. But what he lacked in heavenly gifts, he carried tenfold in something rarer: calmness, stillness, a quiet power that needed no shouting to be heard. From his earliest days, Castor moved like someone in tune with nature's secret rhythm. He would sit for hours beneath olive trees, watching the shadows play, as though the wind and the leaves were telling him stories in a forgotten language. While other boys sparred wildly, seeking glory in bruises and sweat, Castor trained with precision, each movement thoughtful, purposeful, measured. He learned not just how to fight, but when not to. He became a gifted horseman, able to ride without reins, his breath synced to the heartbeat of his steed. Warriors from distant lands came to learn his technique, yet what they admired most wasn't his skill. It was the way he carried it, with humility, with grace, as if power to him was not a crown to wear, but a burden to carry with care. To the people of Sparta, Castor was a quiet star, one that didn't blaze, but warmed, a steady presence in a world often too loud, too fast, too cruel. His friends came to him not just for strategy, but for solace. Mothers brought him restless children, and somehow his voice, low and kind, would lull them into calm. Some said he had the soul of a river, always moving, always patient, always guiding those who came near. But even the calmest river is shaped by what flows beside it. Though Castor had love, respect, and a place in the world, there was always a feeling of almost, as though something was missing. A note left out of his song, a reflection missing from the mirror. His heart was whole, yet somehow lonely. He could feel the echo of someone he had never met, and yet somehow knew. That longing was not weakness, but instinct. For far above, across the thin veil between Olympus and earth, another soul stirred, a spark meant to meet his flame. Their story had not yet begun, but already Castor's spirit waited, quiet and open, for the one who would make him complete. And so he lived, mortal, grounded, watching the stars without knowing that one of them would one day bear his name. Each night, Castor stood atop the hill behind the palace and looked upward, not for answers, not for signs, but simply because it soothed him. He didn't yet know that the same stars were watching him back. He didn't yet know that the wind sometimes carried his name up into the heavens, that someone was listening, someone who would arrive like a mirror and a flame, someone named Pollux. High above the mortal world, where clouds curled like silver silk and the air shimmered with divine breath, another birth took place, quieter still, yet filled with thunder. Pollux opened his eyes not in a cradle of wood, but in the arms of the gods. His mother, the same Spartan queen who bore Castor, had been visited by Zeus himself, king of gods, shaper of skies, and from that celestial union, Pollux was born into Olympus, his blood humming with immortality, his body woven from light, air, and fire. He arrived not as a storm, but as a question. Where Castor had the calm of a river, Pollux had the restlessness of the wind. Even as an infant, he could not sit still. His fingers curled around sunlight. His eyes chased the movement of starlings. He babbled not nonsense, but patterns, syllables that echoed with meaning even the gods couldn't fully grasp. He was energy in its purest form, quick to laugh, quick to leap, quick to learn. Pollux could mimic a bird's call within hours of hearing it. He spoke with foxes and played tag with shadows. He asked questions no oracle could answer and dared to climb heights no other child would dream of touching. Yet for all his brightness, there was a quiet space inside him, a hollow ache, as if a part of him had been left behind in the mortal world. There were moments when he would sit atop Olympus's highest peaks and stare down toward the earth, eyes narrowed in thought. His laughter would pause, and his chest would tighten. He didn't understand why, not yet. One evening, while the gods feasted on nectar and stars, Pollux wandered alone through the twilight. Below, the mortal realm glowed in its soft imperfection, campfires flickering, distant laughter rising like mist. And there, near a quiet hill beneath the Spartan sky, he saw a boy standing alone. A boy who looked up at the stars with the same longing Pollux had carried all his life. It was Castor. Pollux didn't know his name yet, but in that moment, something ancient stirred, something far older than gods or men. A thread pulled taut between souls, drawn across realms. Not just recognition, but reunion. Somehow, they had always known each other. Fate, amused and gentle, drew them together at last. Though one was immortal and the other bound to earth, they met with no ceremony, no thunderclap of destiny. Just a look, just a moment. And in that moment, they were no longer two boys born of different realms. They were two halves of one spirit, finally aligned. From then on, they became inseparable. Pollux descended often to the mortal world, his divine energy flickering like a comet across the sky. He didn't care about the rules of Olympus or the raised eyebrows of gods. He wanted only to be where Castor was. Together, they trained, raced, hunted, and laughed. But more than that, they understood each other in the ways no one else could. Where Castor was precise, Pollux was unpredictable. Where Pollux dreamed, Castor built. Where Castor listened, Pollux inspired. Their bond was not based on similarity, but on balance. A perfect dance between the grounded and the untamed. Pollux once said, "You are the earth beneath my storm. Without you, I'd fly apart." To which Castor replied, "And you are the wind in my stillness. Without you, I'd forget to move." And so the immortal and the mortal wove their days together like song and silence, like light and shadow. But time does not stand still, not even for those touched by the divine. and deep in the folds of the future, a tragedy waited to unfold, one that would shatter the skies, one that would test the very laws of death and life, one that would make even the gods weep. But for now, Castor and Pollux lived, two souls finally whole, basking in the fleeting golden light before the darkness. Time, even when wrapped in golden days, does not wait. For all their joy, all their harmony, Castor and Pollux lived in a world that still turned, where kingdoms rose and fell, where battle cries echoed through hills and valleys, and where no man, not even one tethered to a god, could escape the weight of destiny. They had grown into legendary warriors, not because they sought glory, but because they moved as one. On the battlefield, they were like lightning split in two. Castor's focus cut through chaos like a blade through silk, while Pollux leapt into danger like fire across dry grass. Their bond was their strength. Side by side, they were unstoppable. But war does not care for love, and fate rarely asks permission before it begins to unravel the tapestry. It happened on a day that began like any other. Sunlight soft across the fields, armor gleaming, horses restless with the scent of movement. Castor rode ahead, his gaze steady, his hand brushing the hilt of his sword. Pollux followed, his laughter lingering in the wind like the final notes of a song. Then came the ambush, a blur of enemies, a flash of steel, a moment's separation, and then silence. When Pollux found his brother, Castor was already falling, his body broken, the light in his eyes dimming like the last ember of a dying fire. The immortal dropped to his knees, gathering his twin in shaking arms, the weight of grief crashing down like a wave he had never learned to swim. Pollux had never known fear, never known loss, and now he faced both at once. He shouted to the sky, his voice rising past clouds, splitting through the heights of Olympus itself. "Father, Zeus, hear me." He begged, pleaded, bargained. "Take me instead, or take us both. What is eternity without him?" But the gods stood in silence. For even Zeus, mighty as he was, could not unmake mortality. A mortal life must return to earth. That was the law. That was the cost. Pollux could have returned to Olympus. He could have risen above grief and resumed his place among the stars. But instead, he chose the unthinkable. He knelt beside Castor's lifeless form, laid a trembling hand upon his chest, and whispered, "Then I give you half of everything, my immortality, my light, my soul. Take it. Let him rise." It was a gift no god had ever offered, and a sacrifice no god could ignore. The heavens paused. The stars dimmed. Even Hades himself looked up from the underworld, quiet and still. Moved by the depth of his son's love, Zeus answered, not with thunder, but with grace. He reached down from the sky and touched both brothers, pulling them gently from the bounds of life and death. He lifted them upward, through the air and cloud, not to Olympus, not to the underworld, but to a place between, where the sky meets soul and memory becomes light. There he set them side by side, twin stars, twin souls. Together, they became the constellation Gemini, forever dancing across the heavens, spending half their time in light and half in shadow, forever sharing, forever choosing each other. Each night, when the world quiets and the wind softens, you can see them. Two bright points of starlight, close together, shining above the sleeping earth. They are not alone, and neither are you, because the story of Castor and Pollux is more than myth. It is a memory written into the night sky, a reminder that love, true, selfless love, can bridge even the distance between life and death, that we are never truly alone when we are bound by heart. And so they remain, not just guardians of the stars, but quiet watchers of those born beneath them, those with dual minds and dancing thoughts, those who ask big questions and feel deeply, those who live in two worlds, just like the twins, those born under Gemini. Even after their bodies had faded into starlight, the essence of Castor and Pollux lived on, not just in the sky, where the constellation Gemini draped itself across the heavens like a luminous ribbon, but within the hearts of those who walked the earth beneath. Some souls are born under the whisper of twin stars, and within them, a quiet magic stirs, the gift and the challenge of the dual mind. It begins softly, even in childhood. A Gemini child watches the world with two sets of eyes. One sees what is, the other what could be. One foot stands firmly in the present moment, while the other wanders off into realms unseen, dancing through daydreams, unraveling questions no one else has thought to ask. They are the heirs of Castor and Pollux, of earth and sky, of logic and imagination. Inside them, the mortal and the divine are forever entwined. The dual mind is not a division, it is a mirror, a shimmering sacred space where opposites sit side by side, not in conflict, but in conversation. One moment, they are the quiet listener, reflective and wise, like Castor beneath the olive tree. The next, they are the bold spark, leaping from topic to topic, thought to thought, like Pollux chasing wind through the clouds. And in truth, both are real. Both are true. Gemini is not this or that. Gemini is this and that, held in perfect tension, like the arc of a bow. They are not bound to one mood, one thought, one way. Instead, they shimmer, like light caught in rippling water, ever changing, yet somehow always whole. For some, this inner duality may feel like contradiction. At times, it may seem exhausting to hold so many truths at once. One voice says, "Stay still. Be careful." The other whispers, "Fly. Discover." But this is not a flaw. It is a gift. For who else can see both sides of a story? Who else can dance between logic and wonder, speech and silence, laughter and thought? Gemini is a living dialogue, a heart that beats in two rhythms, both steady and wild. And like the twins themselves, those born under this sign often long for connection, not just to people, but to understanding. They crave intimacy, not just of the body, but of the mind. To be seen, truly seen, is their deepest wish. By someone who understands that the smile may hide a storm, that the silence may hold galaxies of thought. They are the ones who can hold your hand while talking about the stars, who can soothe you with a joke or challenge you with a question that unearths forgotten parts of yourself. But their light has shadows too. For with such rapid thought, there can come restlessness. With so many shifting desires, a fear of commitment may arise, not just to people, but to paths, to decisions, to identity itself. The Gemini mind can be a maze of doors, and sometimes they lose themselves among the choices. They may fear being known too deeply, worried that their many faces will be misunderstood as masks. But they are not false. They are simply fluid, like wind that cannot be held, like clouds that change shape but never lose their essence. To be a Gemini is to contain multitudes. It is to embody the truth that we are never just one thing. And perhaps this is why, through the ages, Gemini has been both celebrated and misunderstood. They are described as charming, quick-witted, curious, but also fickle, inconsistent, elusive. The world often demands clarity, simplicity, while Gemini exists in nuance, in paradox. Yet what is the night sky, if not contradiction? Darkness filled with light, silence that hums with ancient songs. Gemini souls are just the same, and when you meet one, truly meet one, you will sense that spark behind their eyes, that flash of twin starlight that says, "I am many things. I am both Castor and Pollux, and I will not be one without the other." They are shapeshifters, messengers, dancers of the in-between. And when they speak, you might feel as though you are being taken on a journey, not just through their thoughts, but through your own. Because Gemini doesn't just reflect themselves, they reflect the world. They are the wind at your back and the quiet thought you didn't know you needed. And when night falls, they are already dreaming, eyes turned upward to the stars that still carry their name. If the soul of Gemini lives in duality, then its breath moves in conversation. where Castor and Pollux once ran side by side, through the woods of Sparta and the halls of Olympus, speaking in glances and laughter, their descendants speak with 1,000 voices, quick, clever, silver-tongued. To be born under Gemini is to be born with wind in your chest and stars in your throat. Words do not simply fall from a Gemini's lips. They dance, they spark, they leap like fireflies through twilight, lighting up the air around them. They are messengers of Mercury, that fleet-footed god who whispers between realms. And like him, Gemini moves effortlessly between ideas, people, and dimensions. In ancient days, the twin stars were thought to guide sailors across shifting seas, and so too does a Gemini mind guide conversations through choppy waters, finding safe harbors where others might drift. They know how to listen just as well as they know how to speak, though their thoughts often leap ahead, already exploring the next bend in the river of dialogue. Their minds are never still. Questions ripple endlessly beneath the surface. Why does the sky change color when the sun sets? What makes a person's voice tremble when they speak of love? What happens in the silence between words, between people? A Gemini doesn't just want answers. They want the movement, the chase, the dance of discovery. This is their brilliance, but it is also their burden. For while others may settle into silence, Gemini minds keep spinning, chasing thoughts, analyzing emotions, rehearsing futures. Their conversations aren't only with the world, but within themselves. At night, while others sleep, Gemini minds wander, words unspoken, ideas unfinished, questions unasked. They swirl like leaves caught in a breeze. They long to express everything, to translate emotion into language, to shape feeling into sound. But sometimes, language fails. There are moments when even Gemini feels the ache of wordlessness, when the depth of what they sense cannot be shaped into syllables, when their own voice feels like a cage for something too vast to say. And in those moments, they fall quiet, not because they have nothing to say, but because what they feel cannot yet be spoken. That silence is sacred. It is a space between thoughts, a pause between breaths, where Gemini touches something eternal, the place where all language is born. But when the wind picks up again, when the current stirs, they return with renewed fire. Gemini souls are storytellers, but not always in the traditional sense. Their stories are often woven in moments, in gestures, glances, jokes that carry hidden truths. They are natural comedians, improvisers, poets of the everyday. They can find magic in the mundane and make meaning where others see none. A conversation with a Gemini can feel like flying. You start in one place and end up somewhere completely different, laughing, wondering, glowing with the thrill of thought. Their presence awakens something inside you, the joy of sharing, the beauty of being heard. But with their gift of speech comes great responsibility. Words, once spoken, cannot be unspoken, and Gemini knows this, sometimes too late. In their swiftness, they may say too much, or too little, or speak before the heart has had time to catch up to the tongue. Their minds outrun their emotions, and apologies come after the fact, carried on winds already far from the moment they were needed. And yet, when a Gemini offers truth, it shines with unparalleled clarity. They know how to name things that others only feel. They can read the unsaid and give voice to what hides beneath smiles and silences. They are translators of the soul. They speak many languages, not just of countries, but of people, of feelings, of dreams. Gemini's gift is connection. To speak is to build a bridge. To listen is to offer shelter. To be a Gemini is to be a bridge between minds, a lighthouse for those lost in thought, a breeze that carries the seeds of understanding from one heart to another. Their laughter can lift a room. Their questions can open closed doors. Their presence can awaken a world asleep to its own beauty. And so, the winds of Gemini continue to blow, not as storms, but as songs. Songs that drift through crowded rooms, late-night talks, quiet notes left on windowsills. For even when silent, Gemini speaks. Even when still, they stir. And if you ever feel the gentle nudge of a new idea at the edge of sleep, or hear a voice in your heart that sounds like a question waiting to be asked, it may just be them, the twins, the messengers, the wind between thoughts. Gemini. There is a particular kind of longing born beneath the twin stars, a soft ache not for what is lost, but for what is not yet found. This is the heartbeat of Gemini, curiosity pulsing in one chamber, restlessness in the other. One leads forward, light-footed and bright-eyed, eager to know. The other follows, shifting, stirring, never still for long. To be a Gemini is to wake each day with a thirst not just for life, but for meaning. They are not content to simply exist within the world. They want to understand it, taste it, name it, turn it upside down, and ask why it beats the way it does. It begins in childhood, when the simplest question, why, becomes a doorway into infinite realms. The Gemini mind is a lantern, swinging softly through the unknown, casting golden light upon dusty corners and hidden truths. What others pass by, Gemini pauses to examine. What others accept, they question. They are the ones who lean closer, who ask the second question after the first. Their curiosity is electric. It hums through their thoughts and tingles through their fingers. It draws them to books, to strangers, to art, to science, to everything that pulses with life and mystery. But where there is light, there is always shadow. Curiosity's mirror is restlessness. The quiet flutter in the chest when one place, one idea, one person no longer feels like enough. Gemini, like the wind, cannot stay caged. They may start a dozen books and finish only one. They may fall in love with an idea one day and question it the next. Not because they are unfaithful or unfocused, but because they are seekers. Their souls are nomads, even when their feet remain still. And so, they drift, not always away, but always onward. They may leave behind cities, friendships, careers, always searching for the next spark, the next truth that might make sense of it all. To others, this may seem fickle, but to Gemini, it is sacred motion. It is how they grow. It is how they breathe. But even a breeze can grow weary. There are nights when a Gemini may lie awake, wondering if their wandering has led them anywhere at all. If, in their quest to gather every answer, they have missed something essential. The stillness between questions, the softness of staying. They want to be everywhere, and sometimes feel they belong nowhere. They love quickly, but deeply, though they may struggle to show it in expected ways. They fear boredom like a sailor fears a windless sea. And yet, within their restlessness, there is always sincerity. They mean what they say in the moment they say it. Their hearts are true, even if their paths are winding. Because a Gemini's loyalty is not always to place or time. It is to connection, to understanding, to discovery. And if you can meet them there, in that sacred space where wonder lives, you will find them entirely, beautifully present. To love a Gemini is to walk beside someone whose soul stretches across the sky. It is to accept that their attention moves like sunlight through leaves, dappled, warm, ever shifting. But when they turn to you, when they really see you, it is as if the whole world pauses, because they don't just look at you, they explore you. They learn your moods, your secrets, your patterns, and they remember. They remember the way your voice cracks when you're unsure. They remember your favorite constellation, your least favorite season, the way you laugh when you forget to be afraid. Gemini may seem scattered, but their attention is deep. Their memory is intimate. Their presence, when truly offered, is a gift beyond measure. Still, they are human, or stardust shaped like humans, and they struggle like the rest of us. Sometimes they speak too soon or run too fast. Sometimes they leave before understanding why they wanted to stay. Sometimes their questions become defenses, their humor a mask for confusion they haven't yet named. But even these shadows are part of their dance, because curiosity, when paired with honesty, leads to growth. And Gemini, more than anything, wants to grow. They are not content with surface truths. They want to know themselves, to unfold their own hearts, like pages in a book they have not yet finished writing. So they keep moving, keep seeking, keep shifting between light and dark, certainty and wonder. And in doing so, they teach us that it's okay not to have all the answers. that change is not a flaw, it is a rhythm, that the heart is not meant to be still, that the soul, like the stars, was born to travel. And when you look up, on those nights when Gemini rides high in the sky, you might feel it, that gentle tug towards something more, that soft, invisible thread connecting your restless questions to theirs. You are not alone. The twins are still asking, still listening, still dreaming, just like you, before the constellation carried myth or magic. It belonged to the sky. Gemini is one of the 12 zodiac constellations and lies along the ecliptic, the path the sun traces through the sky each year. It is most visible in the northern hemisphere during winter and early spring, particularly around February, when it stands high above the horizon just after sunset. The constellation's two brightest stars, Castor and Pollux, form the heads of the twins and are among the most easily recognizable star pairs in the night sky. Though they appear close, they are vastly different. Pollux, the brighter of the two, is a giant orange star roughly 34 light-years away, and is known to host at least one exoplanet. Castor, about 51 light-years away, is not one star, but a complex system of 6 stars orbiting each other in gravitational harmony. Together, these luminous sentinels form the faces of the mythic twins. The constellation contains other wonders too. Deep sky objects like the open cluster M35 sparkle within its bounds, a grouping of hundreds of stars slowly drifting through space together, another cosmic family. Gemini sits nestled between Taurus and Cancer, above Orion's outstretched arm. In astrology, the sun passes through Gemini from about May 21st to June 20th each year, imbuing those born under this sign with the energies of adaptability, intellect, and curiosity. The Romans associated the constellation with their own twin gods, Castor and Pollux, known as the Dioscuri. Sailors revered them as protectors, believing that seeing both stars at sea was a sign of calm passage ahead. Science and story coexist here, stellar fact woven with timeless fable. To look upon Gemini is to see both the known and the unknown, the measurable and the magical. It is a constellation that reminds us that even in the vastness of the universe, there is still room for connection, for wonder, and for light. The gods, moved by love, do not forget. Long after mortal lives fade, long after temples crumble and names are lost to time, the heavens still carry their stories. And high above the quiet earth, the twins remain, bright and close, forever side by side. Gemini, a pair of stars shimmering in the velvet dark. Castor and Pollux, each anchoring a shoulder of the constellation, gaze across the ages. Not merely figures of light, but a promise that love can defy death, that soul-deep bonds can echo through eternity. Every night, the constellation rises in the eastern sky like a song of reunion. First Pollux, golden and steady, the brighter of the two. Then Castor, bluish white and sharp, flickering with curiosity and clarity. They lean toward each other, as if still speaking, still sharing secrets. And indeed, they do. For those who look up and listen closely, the twins speak not in words, but in feelings, in a sudden memory, in a question that arrives unbidden, in the rush of insight, the crackle of connection, the flicker of recognition when you meet someone who feels like a mirror. The ancients believed Gemini to be protectors of travelers, guides for those crossing seas or soulscapes. Sailors once charted their voyages by the positions of Castor and Pollux, trusting the stars to carry them home. And so they still do. For we are all travelers, aren't we? Drifting between dreams and waking, between thoughts and feelings, between who we are and who we might become. And Gemini, bright above us, reminds us that we are never truly alone on the path, that the journey is not a solitary one, that some souls are bound by invisible threads, stretching across lifetimes and galaxies. The twins were placed in the heavens not as kings, not as warriors, but as companions, equals, reflecting each other's strengths and shadows, and their constellation, unlike any other, forms a doorway. Two parallel lines of stars that seem to frame a space between, an invitation to walk through, to wonder, to become. For when we gaze at Gemini, we are reminded of our own duality, the thinker and the feeler, the lover and the loner, the child and the sage. We are reminded that complexity is beautiful, that the sky holds space for contradictions, that the divine exists in connection. And just as the twins were once pulled apart by fate and stitched back together by the stars, so too can we find unity within our own scattered selves. Look up. There they are, not gods, not ghosts, but lights in the dark. And like all true lights, they do not demand attention. They do not burn. They simply glow, quietly, steadily, together, in the quiet hush between night and dawn, when the stars seem to lean a little closer. The twin lights of Castor and Pollux glimmer like sentinels of the soul. For centuries, they've served not only as symbols, but as compasses. Once, long before maps and machines, sailors looked to the sky to chart their journeys. And there, in the northern heavens, Gemini offered more than coordinates. It offered comfort, a sign that they were not alone, even when surrounded by miles of dark water. The constellation rises high in winter skies in the northern hemisphere and whispers through the night until spring. Its two brightest stars, Pollux, the golden guardian, and Castor, the brilliant scholar, frame a path in the sky like the columns of a gate that leads not outward, but inward. Because Gemini does not merely help us move through the world, it helps us move through ourselves. To navigate by Gemini is to chart a course through the landscapes of thought and feeling, through dualities, through contradiction, through growth. It asks, where have you been? What are you seeking? Who have you become while traveling between your own shadows and light? Its stars are more than points of fire. They are questions, invitations, checkpoints on an inward voyage. For in the soft flicker of Gemini's gaze, we are asked to find home within ourselves, to trust curiosity as a compass, to let change shape our path, to let connection be the wind that moves us forward. In ancient Rome, when a storm stirred and sails snapped in panic, sailors would call upon the Dioscuri, the divine twins, to calm the seas. And sometimes it is said, two mysterious lights would appear above the mast. Saint Elmo's fire, they called it, twin glows that danced in defiance of the tempest, a sign that the twins were near, guiding them through the unknown. Even now, when we face inner storms, confusion, anxiety, the winds of doubt, it is Gemini's wisdom we channel, to pause, to ask, to express, to connect. Their constellation has also been a touchstone for the curious of heart. The poets, the philosophers, the dreamers who look up not for navigation, but for affirmation that questions are holy and that contradictions can coexist. It reminds us that we are not meant to be just one thing, that we are allowed to change, that thoughts are meant to fly free, and that identities can be fluid, shifting, reborn. Gemini is the constellation of permission, permission to explore both sides of a feeling, to tell a story, then retell it, to fall in love with someone, and later, with the person we become beside them. To hold two truths in our hands and not be broken by them, but made whole. So the next time you look up and see those twin lights shimmering overhead, know this: they are not only ancient, they are not only myth, they are you. They are the curious child who asked why the moon changes shape. They are the teenager who wrote late-night thoughts in the corners of notebooks. They are the adult who dares to begin again. New job, new love, new dream. They are the elder who knows the value of questions that have no final answers. Gemini is a compass, yes, but not one that points north. It points within. It spins gently around the core of your being, always guiding, always evolving. And through it all, the stars remain steady, not to hold you still, but to remind you that you are always allowed to move. Night falls like a hush. The world slows, shadows lengthen, and 1,000 quiet thoughts begin to stir. Whispers of the day now resting, and dreams not yet born. And above it all, the sky unfolds her velvet robe, spangled with stars. Slowly, quietly, the twins rise. Gemini, two lights in the northeastern sky, gentle, constant, radiant. They do not blaze like war-born Orion, nor shimmer like the mystic Pleiades. No, Gemini glows with familiarity, with something deep and warm and known, like the voice of a beloved friend, like the feeling of coming home. They do not announce themselves. They arrive gently, as if they've always been there. Pollux, the steady flame. Castor, the curious flicker. Together, they climb the sky, mirroring each other in light and soul. And as they rise, so too does memory. For the twins do not only dwell above us, they dwell within us, in the shifting tides of thought, in the laughter that flickers between friends, in the questions that come just before sleep, soft and strange and full of wonder. They whisper of things you forgot you knew. They remind you of stories you once believed. They curl around the edges of your dreaming mind and beckon you onward. Not forward, not backward, but inward, to the place where your many selves sit side by side, waiting to be heard. Tonight, Gemini watches over the sleepers, over the thinkers whose thoughts have not yet settled, over the wanderers whose paths have not yet straightened, over the lovers who still reach in the dark for hands they cannot name, and over you, yes, you, dreamer, you with your bright mind and your shifting heart, you with your endless questions and quiet courage, you who sometimes feels too much, or too fast, or not quite enough. The twins see you, and they do not ask you to be still. They do not ask you to choose. They do not ask you to fit neatly into a single box, or silence the many voices inside you. They only ask you to rest, to let the wind of your thoughts slow, to let your heart loosen its grip, to float for a while between the stars. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are in motion, and in motion, there is magic. There is you. So breathe now. Inhale the hush of night. Exhale the weight of day. Let the twins above carry your wandering thoughts into the dark to sift through dreams and stardust. Let them speak in silence and guide you, not to answers, but to peace. And when morning comes and the sun nudges Gemini from the sky, remember, they are not gone. They are simply waiting until night returns, until you return, and the story begins again. I hope you enjoyed tonight's journey, and it has brought you a night of peaceful, restful sleep. Please join me again tomorrow night for another sleep story. Until then, sweet dreams.